everyone. Welcome to Ausgate Live. And by the way, I'm EA.
Baby, today we're diving into a really exciting topic. What are the common questions to study in Australia?
Yes, if you're planning to study abroad or just curious about the process, stay with us because we'll cover the most frequently asked questions by the international students. And before we start it, I would like to introduce RR. She's the one who's going to answer those questions.
Yes, EA, and feel free to drop your questions in the comments. We might answer them live.
So let's start with the most common question. How do I start my journey in Australia?
Well, that's a great question. Before I answer that, let me introduce myself. I'm RR. I've been working with Ausgate for almost 4 years already. So, giving background about how to study in Australia, the process itself, what are the documents, requirements, is our main goal to provide with our clients when they want to study in Australia. So yeah, to start your journey to study in Australia, the process can be divided into two main phases. So the phase one is school application and enrollment. First, you need to choose your course and institution. Ausgate will assist you throughout this stage by helping you apply to your preferred school, prepare the required documents, and secure your enrollment. Once your application is successful, you'll just receive a confirmation of enrollment. We call it COE, which is a crucial document for your next step. So the next step is, or the phase two, is the student visa application. After obtaining your COE, the next step is applying for student visa. We work with a partner law firm in Australia that will guide you and support you through the entire visa process, ensuring all requirements are met and giving you the best chance of approval. So with these two phases, Ausgate provides end-to-end support to make your journey to studying in Australia smooth and stress-free.
Thank you, RR. So, next big question. How much does it cost to study in Australia?
Honestly, KB, it's hard to identify the exact amount. But then, as they keep on mentioning, is how much is the show money? Eventually, there is no show money that will ask the immigration to you. But then, be reminded that you are applying for student visa, meaning you need money to study in Australia. So tuition fees can vary, and you could also need to consider living expenses like accommodation, food, and transportation. That is why it is important for us to assess your situation. If you have a family, relatives to stay in Australia, or you're gonna apply standalone. So, but the tuition fee now is around 15K to 45K a year. So it really depends. And then the living expenses as required of the Department of Home Affairs is around 24,000 AUD per year. So it is really important to assess how much how much you have on your bank account to study in Australia. If you can study in Australia, because the immigration might check your background if you can study in Australia. So that is important to consider, that just you want to study in Australia. You should have fees, you have money to put on your account when you are studying in Australia, because Australia is a first world country, and then if you really want to consider to study there or live there, you should have something on your pocket or on your bank to those expenses that I've mentioned. So yeah.
That's good news, RR. And I believe many institutions offer also flexible payment options and installment plans, which can really help manage your budget. So, another popular question, if I am an international student, can I work while studying in Australia?
Absolutely, yes, you can. That is one of the eligibility of international students. They are allowed to work up to 48 hours per fortnight. So, meaning of per fortnight is for 2 weeks while you're studying. Okay, and you can have a full time during your breaks. So that's a big help for your expenses as well, and then an experience to study and while working in Australia.
That's great, RR. So, this is great way to gain experience and support your daily expenses. But remember, your main focus should still be your studies. Balance is the key. Right, EA?
Yes, KB. So let's talk about English requirements. If I am an international student, RR, do I need IELTS to study in Australia?
Eventually, that's a big question every time that there is a potential client that's we are assessing if they need to take an IELTS or PTE. Um, Everyone, students, listeners, you are applying in a international schools as a student, and also you're entering Australia, which is the first language is English. Taking IELTS or PTS is one of the important requirements that you should have. Okay? It's common required. Some institutions or schools accept alternative, just like I mentioned, PTE or TOEFL, TOEFL, or even waive it depending on your previous education. And it depends on your country. Okay? But then, keep in mind that again, you are entering an international as an international student, and also entering a world class school and first world country. You should have the IELTS or PTE exam on your end.
So it's important to check the requirements of your chosen school before applying. So next question, how do I apply for a student visa?
Okay, for the student visa, it's on the second phase. Once you receive your offer letter and pay that to the school, and then you confirm your enrollment or the certificate of enrollment, you can start your visa application. You'll just need the documents needed to apply. So, as I mentioned, you need guidance to apply. There is an immigration lawyer that we could offer, that we could endorse to you if you don't have yet. And then us as well, we could assist you further if you're gonna get our services to study in Australia.
Thank you, RR. So another question, what courses are now in demand? Because I know choosing the right course is the key.
Yes, what are the courses in demand? I could say that every courses are in demand in Australia. But then taking nursing, IT, businesses, engineering, hospitality, and other related courses that might require you to continue studying in Australia is a great for future job opportunities. So again, team, if those I've mentioned is not related to your current situation or your current profession, pursue what you have right now. And then when you are in Australia, there's a lot of opportunities you could get. So from the very start, I've mentioned that you are applying for student visa. Your focus must be only to study in Australia.
Wow, if they completed their study in Australia, can they stay after graduation?
That's what I mentioned earlier. It's not only to study in Australia, your intent, right? You also want to stay further. You want to work further, or you live permanently in Australia. Yes, you can apply another visa after you graduate. There's another discussion of temporary complete visa, 482 visa, which is the skills in demand. So it really depends on how you build your profession yourself in Australia. If you already took an opportunity to have an employer, so that's a great news. You could eventually apply for another visa. You could, which allows you to work full-time in Australia after your studies. So eventually, while you're studying in Australia, it's a good opportunity to look for a part-time job and build trust with that employer. And eventually, after you graduate, they might sponsor you for another visa.
Oh, thank you for that, RR. But how long does the visa process take?
To be honest, KB, we cannot tell the duration because we don't want to fail with the duration that we could provide. There is a processing time that Department of Home Affairs provide to us. It really depends on the documents we submit. If the documents is incomplete or something like a need to provide further documents to the immigration, it will take too long. But if the documents we provide satisfied the immigration officer, it will not take too long. So it really depends on the immigration and at the same time the documents we submitted.
So, those are the most common questions about studying in Australia. If you're planning to take the next step, make sure you're informed, prepared, and guided properly.
Thank you so much, RR, for answering all those questions. And also, thanks for tuning to Ask It Live. If you enjoyed this session, don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. Flash us on your screens right now and share your thoughts in the comments. This has been KB.
And this has been EA. See you at the next session of Ausgate Live. Bye for now.